Every time I feel that familiar twinge in a muscle, I end up in the same AI conversation that I've already had. What are the best rehab exercises for runners? I've done this at least 5 times, and I still couldn't tell you the answer without having to look it up again. That's the problem with AI. They're deep, valuable insights that evaporate the moment you close the tab. You're stuck in a never-ending search for conversations you know you've already had. Today, I'm going to show you how I built a notes to my future self system on Claude Cowork, and it took less than 30 minutes to set up. So now I have a single place to store and retrieve all my reoccurring life information, and I'll show you exactly how to build one for yourself. These days, we have these incredibly detailed conversations with AI about health, about home maintenance, about life decisions. And the conversations are meaningful, but there's no artifact at the end. There's no document. There's no corkboard where we pin a note with the decision that we made. And it's not that the information is lost, because we can always go and search for it again, but it's scattered. I've got research in ChatGPT, conversations in Claude, deep dives in Gemini, and each platform has its own search. But 6 months from now, I'm not going to be able to remember where I was when I had that particular conversation. And 2 years from now, that platform might not even exist as we know it today. Those conversations could actually be gone. So I started thinking, what if I could create a folder on my computer that was a single source of truth, kind of like a repository for my life decisions? Somewhere where I could finally organize this stuff all together in one place. So at least I'd know where to go look for it. And it occurred to me that Claude Cowork could probably help me store and retrieve that information when I needed it. So I decided to try to build it, and Claude Cowork made it shockingly easy. The first thing I did was create a folder called Notes to My Future Self. Nothing fancy, just a file on my computer. The core idea is simple. Claude Cowork has access to your file system. So if you solve the problem of where do I put all my stuff by just picking a folder, then Claude Cowork can help you with the how do I find the stuff in there part later. The idea is that this becomes my repository for any reoccurring life information. It could be health related, it could be home maintenance related, it could be my family's favorite pizza recipe, whatever. The point is, you've just created a folder that you now know where all of that kind of stuff goes. You put it in a place where you can remember to look for it, and you named it something you can identify later when you go back to look for it. The magic happens when you give Claude Cowork access to this folder. It can read, write, and search those files, which means I don't have to remember exactly the name of the file that it's in. Claude can find it for me. For example, I had a conversation with Claude about how to store water for natural disaster kinds of situations. Basically, how long can you keep a 5-gallon jug of water safe in the garage? Do you need to add iodine to it? Do you need to refill it every month? Does it need to be temperature controlled? It's good information to have, and it made sense at the time, but I knew 6 months from now, I'm not going to remember what the answers are, and I'm going to have to go back to this conversation and search for it or ask again. And unfortunately, you can't just pop a chat over into Cowork. It loses all reference to previous chats or conversations that you've had, let alone any conversations you've had in another AI tool. The next thing I did was I went into Claude Cowork and I kind of explained what I was trying to do. I told it that I wanted to be able to save a summary of information into a single place and be able to store it and retrieve it later using Claude Cowork. From there, it gave me all kinds of suggestions how to index this project, files that could be created, categories, and types of files that could be stored here. I gave it the go-ahead and it created an entire directory structure for me. So that was all well and good, but the real problem was I now had all these conversations that lived somewhere outside of this project that I needed to be able to figure out how to extract the information, save it to a file, and bring those files into this Cowork space. For example, I've had a long and ongoing conversation with ChatGPT about various sunscreens. Would they work for me? Why they didn't work for me? Ones that I've tried, but my skin was too sensitive for, too sticky, too heavy, or too something. I needed a way to extract the information from this very long conversation without saving the entire structure of the conversation. I just wanted a summary, the details of what I've tried and why it worked or didn't work, so that 6 months from now, I'm not going back and buying the same thing that I've already tried and realized didn't work for me. So I asked Claude Cowork to help me create a prompt that I could copy and paste into any chat system, any conversation I've had in the past, to extract a summary of that conversation and save it into a markdown file so I could take that file and add it into this Cowork project. Cowork Space, I'm not sure what we're calling it. Basically, I wanted to be able to save that file and bring it into Claude Cowork. Claude did great, gave me multiple options depending on how I wanted to format the notes that I wanted to save. I picked the one that I thought would work the best, and then I asked Claude Cowork to save it in this same file system. The second thing that it gave me is super helpful. It also gave me a prompt that I can use anytime I come back in here, explaining that I've got a new file and that I want to save it to my notes system. So this is looking good and I'm pretty happy with it, but I did realize if every time that I want to come in and save a new note to this file system, if I have to come back in here and find the prompts and copy and paste, then I haven't really solved anything. I've just moved the problem. But that's when I realized this sounds like a skill. If something is definable and repeatable, that can be a skill. So I asked Claude Cowork to take everything that we just did and create a skill. Claude Cowork has a skill builder built right into it, so it understands what you're saying when you say, hey, can you build a skill to do X, Y, and Z? Can you build a skill based on the conversation that we've just been having? It knows how to put all those pieces together. And boy, did it. It put everything together for me. And because Claude Cowork works on files on your computer, we can actually go in here and take a look at everything it's done. This is inside of that Notes to My Future Self file. Everything is in here. It's even created this README. So if I come in here in the future and can't quite remember what I did, it's got the full start here and system explanation, basically how the skill itself works. After it was done creating the skill, it asked me if I wanted to save it to my set of skills. Obviously I did, because that is the whole reason I created this skill. But the fact that this skill lives inside of Claude Cowork means it's accessible to the entire system. This skill lives at a higher level than just that conversation that I've been having with Claude Cowork. So now I can go in here anytime, start a brand new task, and as long as I give it access to that file where my notes system lives, I can come in here and ask about it. I can say something like, do I have notes in here about rehab after a running injury? And it follows the directions that it's created for itself. Checks my notes to my future self folder, sees that I have a health and wellness folder, looks for anything related to running, and sees that I have a supplemental exercises for runners in the health and wellness folder. And then it summarizes for me exactly what's in there and what I've identified in the past that I can do to help myself now. I don't have to go search for that conversation that I think I had with ChatGPT 3 months ago. It's just right here. I write it once, retrieve it forever. And if I want to come in at a future time and grab another conversation from somewhere else, but I can't remember that extraction prompt, what is the prompt that I need to summarize an AI chat in another AI model? It gives me the prompt that I need. I can just copy it and go back out to another chat and get that summarization. Once that's done, I've got a document that I can now download, and then I can just add the file and I can say anything along the lines of, can you save this to my notes system? And now I know how to store water in case of a natural disaster. I can now go and anytime I come across a conversation in any AI system that I feel like I want to be able to keep track of, I can just grab that prompt, create a summary document, and throw it into my future notes system. So is this a perfect solution? No, but it's 90% of the way there, and I built it in less than half an hour. This isn't a polished production-ready system. There's definitely room for improvement. Somebody smarter than me has probably already built something like this that's more sophisticated. But I didn't need perfect. I just needed something that worked. And this thing works. In less than half an hour of me thinking and rambling my ideas into Claude, I created a system for the things I keep needing to relearn. And that to me is the real power of Claude Cowork. You don't need to spend 3 hours searching for the perfect skill every time you want to be more productive. You don't have to look for the professional skill for your specific life. Instead, you get to lay the groundwork for what you need in the moment. You let perfect get out of the way and just get the work done. So take this idea and make it your own and run with it. That's the whole point of Claude Cowork. For me, now I finally have a place to put everything, and Claude Cowork knows how to help me remember those things that I've already figured out. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.